Hello, hello everyone. This is Daniel, and well, I'm going to talk about something that might be very interesting. Okay, so when is the end? Okay, so let's just say that that trying to figure something out, but basically, Julebi definition. Yeah. So let me just describe it to you, and it will get a little brighter here. Julebi, special anniversary of an event, especially one celebrating 25 or 50 years of a reign or activity. So, yeah, that Jubilee of 2,000 years from Christ's death could mean something very special to Christ, right? So, what is that Jubilee? Again, we don't know when the end is going to be, but I believe a special Jubilee is going to happen maybe 2030 because Christ died at 30 AD. So the end could happen in between 2024 to 2036. Those are the broad spectrum of the years that's going to happen when the end is going to happen. So basically, it's going to happen somewhere between spring and fall. And the fight in the winter is going to be horrible, so it's not going to be a good thing. So here's going to be in the spring that the real problem with the Antichrist is going to happen. It's all going to happen in the spring. All right, so how old is how old is the Pope? No. Oh. So how old is Francis? He's 81 years old, and he was born on December 17th, 1936. So 1936. It doesn't really matter in our years. It matters in the years that started from Adam and Eve sinning and the start of man. So, what's the Jewish calendar on this? All right. Let's go to the Jewish calendar. I mean, what number had that? Oh, 444, yes. 444 and 44. So Jewish calendar of when Jesus died on the cross was 3790. That's an important number right there because 3 plus 7 is 10, and 90 and 9 plus 0 is 9, and that's added together is 19. Of course, that's obvious. Well, 19 part was obvious, but 19. What does that mean? This is going to be the complex part where the special knowledge is going to kick in. It's going to kick in really hard right here. So if you don't have special knowledge, you might want to leave right now. And you might want to spare the message at the end is very much on the edge. So 19. 19 of which combining 10 and 9, yes. Usually denotes God's perfect order in regard to his judgment. So his judgment was perfect on the 19th, the symbolic of 19. So the symbolic meaning of 19 at 3790, which adds up to pretty much 19 in a certain sense. His judgment was perfect when he died on the cross on that 444th day, which was the 44th, maybe, I don't know, like it was 44th something on the month, I don't know. 44th year, I don't know. It's like, it was his perfect judgment on the cross. But in 2030, 2,000 years later, it will have been literally, I mean, there's two ways you can say 21. It's um, pretty much righteously holding the truth, not holding the truth, but righteously holding something that is sacred for a long time, sacred to God, or it could mean complete rebellion. So if you add two to that number, 2,000, if you add two, it gets to 21. So what does 21 mean? This is where you must have special knowledge because this is not an easy topic right here. So there are 20, how's 21 related to sin? And Second Timothy chapter 3, where the Apostle Paul wrote of 21 sins that you must avoid. And all of these lists are here, and then be proud of themselves. Where's rebellious? Reject being holy, that's rebellious. Reject the loving of God, that's rebellious. So there's certain rebellious things right there. So it means new beginning of sinfulness and complete sinfulness. So in that order, it's 5790, which is, so Christ was the beginning of holiness, and 5790 is the beginning of sinfulness, of complete sinfulness. So, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pretty. So, how do I know it's 2030? Some of it's obvious and some of it's not yet obvious. So I go to Google Translate. And remember, it is on the 40th Jubilee, which means 50th anniversary of Christ. So 40th Jubilee. So 40th Jubilee, 50th anniversary. Sorry about that. So 40th Jubilee. So kind of a senseless pun, but it's not. Of course, back then Jesus did not know when the end was going to be because he does not believe in Italian language with Latin themes in it. Of course, he understands everything, but when the end is going to be, so the end is going to be somewhere around 2036 to 2024. I think that was his guess, but I never told anyone because that would create massive panic. And by the way, you could die before that time. You could die before 2024, and you could die before 2030. You could die before 2036. You don't know. So, basically, a pope name in Italian is, and that's the Antichrist. His name is Jubilee, not Jubilee, but Jubilee. When I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is scary." And God told me that this Antichrist is a demon, and basically, this demon, his name is Yobel, but he translated his name to Jubilee. Are you getting what I mean? I'm gonna go to YouTube. Yeah. Hopefully, you'll find out what this is all about. So Jubilee. Oops. That equals the 44. No, it equals the 444, which is, I believe, what we call waiting time. A time of the actual Christ return number. The number of Christ's return is basically Jubilee. But I'm going to go to another type of thing, which is Yobel. and Job, which means young. Jove, which means young. Yobel Jove, which means young, in an island next to Los Angeles. Kind of a Spanish island too. So Yobel Jove, it's a Spanish island next to Los Angeles, and they have their own language. Or Javon, which is not the true sense, which is basically a Jove. So yeah, that's not good. But in English, it's another name, but we still call it Yobel because it's just a Indonesian name, and we call it and yeah, it's like 141. That equals a 6, and full reduction it's 6, and Sumerian it's like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 8 plus 4 is 12, so that's equals to 18. So, I mean, if you got English and Sumerian, that would be 666. Are you getting what I'm getting at? I mean, the whole seriousness of this issue is with Yobel. In the English way, in the English terms, it's Yobel Young. It's still 666 no matter what. So it's going to be Pope Yobel, and his real name is Jubilee with a G. So it starts with a G. Job, which starts with a Jove, not B. Jove, which starts with a J. So I'm going to spell these names out to you. Yobel Jove, which is 666 still. And then Yobel, it's Yobel, and still you can get the name as Young, which I know you how you. I know how you. I know you know how to spell that. So Yobel Jove, Yobel Young. It still means 666. So Yobel is a bad name. And then it goes to Jubilee, which you know what I mean. So basically, let me go to Google Translate. And if you you might want to write this one down because that's the Pope's name as the Antichrist. And let me just go to the basics. This Pope is 81 years old. He was born in December 17th, 1936. And Easter of in spring of 2030, he will be 93. Wait, 92 or 93? Wait, yeah, 36. So he'll be 93 years old, and he'll be 93 years old in 2030, which is still livable. So in 2024, what's still livable, that's like 6 years from now. He'll be 87 years old in 2024. And I don't think he's gonna die from that time. I don't think he's gonna die from then, but I mean, this guy looks healthy. This guy looks clearly he looks healthy. Elizabeth has health issues. She's not healthy. And Hillary Clinton has mild health issues for her age. But Elizabeth is second Elizabeth is 91 years old and she's not healthy. But Pope Francis, he has minor problems, but he's pretty healthy. So I bet he's gonna live until 93 years old. He still has that much time. And come on, that's like a 12-year-old. Just like it's like 12-year-old. It's like in adolescence terms. He's going to be drastically different in 12 years, isn't he? Of course, when you're 24 to 36, you're still kind of the same way, except you're not young anymore. So he's going to be like that in 93, and he's going to be probably dead. He'll probably be, I don't know, like 44 months of really unhealthy years. So 44 months. He will be very unhealthy for 44 months. They'll be deciding on a new pope, and for 44 months, or probably, yeah, they'll probably be deciding on a new pope for 44 months because he's pretty much unhealthy. So for 44 months, probably. So that's like 2030, 20, 2029, 2028. Remember, that's 24. That's 24. 2027. Seth, by the way, is like 90 years old. 90 years old, so that's not too bad. And that's like he'll be 89 when he's unhealthy, which is normal. And he looks happy. And the funny thing is, Pope Francis, he says there's no such thing as heaven, even though he is practically believing in heaven. Well, he said there's no such thing as heaven, even though he says this is what angels look like or what clouds look like. He says there's no such thing as heaven. So, yeah. He's got a lot of people deceived from that point. A lot of people are going to hell because of that, because they think that's the only place they're going, because of a lot of Catholic people thinking that. And think about it. Pope Bill is going to be 7 times worse. That's 700%. You think that's like 1,000? That's like 7,000. So imagine having $10,000. You can buy a regular car for that. Then you can imagine having $70,000. That's why you can buy a very cheap car, used car. You can practically buy, let's say, a Mitsubishi Mirage for that money. That is nothing but radio and other weird features are okay. Mitsubishi Mirage, which has nothing. 7 times that much. 7 times. That is an amount that you can buy massaging seats. You can buy a stereo sound system in a car. Leather seats are very comfortable. Cruise control that is completely electronic. You can also have the ability to look at a camera angle from the computer and switch not only to another camera angle, but look around on the computer and look at an animated car. So you can have a 360-degree camera angle like it's on Google Earth, but you're looking at it in real life. That's high tech, guys. Instead of that 1990s and 1980s technology, which, by the way, which, by the way, 10 grand only gets you 80s technology, and 70 grand gets you like today's technology. And not only that, you can also get a car that what else can you get? You can have a excuse me. You can have a chauffeured curtain to cover yourself. Not just a plastic curtain, but a completely tinted curtain, maybe even a tinted window that turns tinted on automatically, or a chauffeured curtain that covers up the back window. And you can even control the radio. You can do so many features with the radio in the back seats to the front seats. You can have a touchscreen. You can have 2 television sets in the back seats. You can have everything for $70,000. And that is 7 times as much as a car with, 10 grand car that has bare bones minimum. That, by the way, is how many times worse Pope Yobel's going to be, or Pope Jubilee is going to be compared to Pope Francis. We're talking crazy stuff here, guys. Okay, so 2030 is going to be a fascinating year for a whole bunch of us, because that is a year of 20. That's 20. Okay, so that's 2030 is going to be fascinating because not only is that the 5th year for us, or the 20, it's going to be reference. It's adding 5,790 for the actual Jewish year, or the actual year that everyone was formed on Earth. Basically, if you add that all up, from 5 to 7 to 9 to 0, you get 21. There's good ways of 21, which is it's like oh man, I've had it. I hate when I do that, but it's basically the gathering of God's children, the gathering of the law and the love, gathering of the law and love. Basically, all these good things. It is precious to God that He gathers all these things up, and then what's left behind is another 21, which is complete rebellion, complete sin, and utter sin. So 2030 is going to be a fascinating year. But don't get your hopes up, guys. Like I said before, do not absolutely get your hopes up. Because even if you think that 2030 is going to be the end of the world, you could die. Guys, you could die at any old age, like 2019, 2018, 2022, 2028. You could die before that. And the world could actually even end at 2060, for all I can tell. For all I can tell, maybe even 2120. It could end by that time, even though there's quite a lot of sin today, and over half the prophecies have overcome and passed so far. I could list a whole bunch of things that that list of prophecies that have gone by, but you would not know what a lot of them mean because you don't have such knowledge. You don't know God. Oh yeah, and basically, in Matthew chapter 24, in the first few verses, he just talks about the temple, and then later on he talks about what kind of things would mean the end of the world, or what would happen before the end of the world. And I believe just about every one of those things happen. And then the good news would spread all over the world. That's the last thing that would happen. YouTube is it. Good news on YouTube is what's spreading all over the world. So if you think you're in line for the world not ending, and if you think you're in line for living in the world that is not ending, well, I'm sorry, but this world's going to end very soon. Even though 38 prophecies have to pass, even though 38 prophecies actually have to pass, It just means that they could pass within the next 15 years. And that's how desperate we really are. Yeah. Out of the 144 prophecies that are on the modern day market, prophecies are going by quicker than they ever were before. So, you know, I believe that 36 of the prophecies are in the last days of when the Pope Yobel arrives. So yeah, this just means that we have to be very careful about who we believe, because even if you believe not in me, you can still just say, you have to be careful who we do not believe in and who we believe in, because someone trying to give you a amount of truth and evidence, that could mean that if you do not believe in a person that's absolutely telling the truth, or a person that's absolutely telling a lie, there's a moderation between these two. And you have to go for the truth, and you have to go for this holy moderation. And basically, you have to realize that there is a there's a scary world going on around here. People are going crazy left and right. People are considered being people are being born with low IQ, and yeah, this is not good. Stephen Hawking died. Billy Graham died. Those are the two wise people. Stephen Hawking being the atheist, Billy Graham being the true person. But without Billy Graham and Stephen Hawking, this is not the important part. Then there was the days when the highest honored person dies. Stephen Hawking was a very big figure because of his pure genius. Billy Graham was considered one of the most influential Christians in the world, and he died. So, without wisdom and without world's wisdom, without God's wise wisdom from God, we're without wisdom. And at YouTube, there was a gun shooting, and that scared a lot of YouTube workers or workers of YouTube. So, yeah, you really don't know when the world's going to end, but 2030 is a threat, and I don't know, because 2030 is a very predictable year. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it happens before, it does happen before. Yeah, at 93 years old, that's like 12 years. That's 12. That makes 9 plus 3 makes 12. So when did Pope Francis become Pope? So let's look at that. So March 13th, 2013. So that's 2/13s. So 2013 is what's that's not an important one. But March 13th. 13 is a bad day, so it's not good. So he's been here for 5 years. And of course, if it would be 2030, that would be to 2013 to 2030. 2023, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's that's um that's 17 years. So it's victory for God's people, but a threat to the world. And remember, numbers are really they're literally filled with meaning, and they're really important in one way or another. But in other ways, they're not really that important. But in the end, the numbers will be very important. And Pope gosh, what was it? Ju- not Jubilee, but Jubilee is going to be a really it's going to be really ugly because Jubilee it's going to be considered like you know the Pope of Jesus, and he's going to be. I know it sounds silly, but some of you like Jubilee is going to be like Christ, and he's going to tell people to become like him. He's going to like he's going to heal people like the Catholic Church. He's going to do all these great healings, and he's going to heal the deaf, the mute, and they're all going to follow him. But the funny thing is, it isn't all in Catholic terms. He's going to have people all gather to him. And the third thing is, I mean, he is a pope. He is the king of the world. God is the king of the universe. Our Lord Jesus was just like a servant. He was a carpenter who had basically nothing. And he was a human. Yobel had come from a spirit and later to become. Well, I mean, he's going to come in human form as well, but remember, Yobel's on number. He's basically all numbers of a man. So really, I don't know. It's like scary truth is out there. Hopefully, you'll understand that some people think that the Antichrist is going to be the king of the government. He's going to be the high ruler of the government, but really, he's going to be the Pope is going to be the Antichrist. So live like tomorrow. There's no other chance. So yeah, the Pope is he has become part of Rome, and Rome has become a part of Babylon, and so is America. I mean, Babylon is the spirit, and yeah, I mean, remember, Yobel, uh, Jubilee, Yobel, Antichrist, left behind, Yobel, heathen, Jove, evil, Yobel, Satan. Evil. Yobel. Jubilee. The Jubilee. I meant to say Jubilee. Fallen. And that's all I have to say for that. Just so record that a lot of times, and find the very words that you might want to find. This will be a very hard homework to do. I mean, if you have an interpreter, have one, because interpreter will be a perfect solution for you. So I don't know what to say again, so it's going to be repeated every time. So go from, beginning of what I said when I said Yobel, and then when I said at the end at 36 or something like the 36, 30, maybe 36, 15. Please just, repeat those terms and you'll literally figure out what I'm talking about. Because someone else is probably saying the same thing that I'm saying. And he's saying in the end time stuff, and I'm saying something about, you could die. Again, decide what you want to do with your life. Okay? That's all I have to say. That's spoil some of the things, okay? Okay. I'll be done now, okay? Bye.